You think there'll be anything you miss when we move out of this parking lot in the next few weeks?
Not even a tiny bit. And you know what? I'll miss dealing with all the. Actually, no, I won't miss anything. I'm not gonna lie. I'm tired of it.
I mean, you.
It's very tough to deal with all this BS of getting into this temporary location.
Hey, I'm Mike Ungaro, and welcome to episode 7 of Fish Factor. I'm the CEO, visionary, and business co-owner of the Kings of Fish TV series on Amazon Prime and the legendary San Pedro Fish Market. Under my leadership, we saw double-digit annual sales growth for over a decade and became the second most visited seaside attraction on the western seaboard, second only to SeaWorld. On this channel, you'll get an exclusive behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to run a multi-generational business that's been operating since 1956. The highs, the struggles, and the unique challenges of working with family. You'll see firsthand what it takes to keep a seafood empire thriving while also producing our TV series, Kings of Fish, which you can watch right here on YouTube and on Amazon Prime. All right, here's sketch of the day. What do you do when you're building a brand new location for one of the largest and busiest restaurants in the country, but thousands of customers still expect the full experience? You find a way to make it happen, even if that means turning a parking lot into a full-service operation. So on this episode of Fish Factor, I'm joined by the Chief of Business Development at San Pedro Fish Market, my brother Henry Ungaro, as we share what it's really like to serve the masses while our new San Pedro Fish Market location is under construction. Henry, welcome to Fish Factor. How we doing today?
Hey, doing great, man.
All
Thanks
right.
for the invite.
Yeah, so I thought what we could do today is kind of tell people what it's like and what we've been up to. So I'd say, like, what's the biggest surprise you came across? As we had to, like, for background, right? We had this big restaurant. They're redeveloping the waterfront. We had to get out. We had very little. We had years and years of warning, but it kept getting postponed, so we never really knew what was going to happen. And suddenly, it's like, hey, you got to be out by March 3rd. And then, boom, you're like, Henry, what are you going to do here? So, what would you say was like the biggest challenge and biggest surprise of that whole endeavor?
Challenge was figuring out what we were gonna do to survive. There was a lot of fear when it first happened, and really trying to game plan around that. And for me, it was looking at a space. We were already in talks with the city at one point of opening a temporary location. So, I had to rethink that. Obviously that was no longer on the table, but that idea still existed, right? So, I just got a map and I started looking around, and, me being familiar with the area, living there my whole life, I saw an empty parking lot, and my first thought was, well, what can we put in here? And I think there was a handful of people that thought I was nuts. It wasn't the most desirable location,
Right.
but, and then cleaning out that building, really figuring out what are we going to do with, you know, 65 years of history
Yeah.
that we
Hard.
we had been putting in there over the years. And what do you keep, what do you throw away? And once again, you have everybody with an opinion of that. And I'm glad we saved a lot of it, because I'm looking at the kitchens now that we're putting together, and a lot of the equipment's in there that I thought was junk, and our brother John thought, no, we could clean this up and reuse a lot of this stuff. So
It's hard in those situations to figure out, like, what are you going to keep, what's got to go. You got you've been in a building for 40 years or whatever, and then you've got to take everything out that you can in a matter of just a few weeks.
yeah, so I believe if we would have had a building ready to go for us, we wouldn't have kept all the things we kept. But due to the fact that we had no place to go, the thought was, okay, what items do we put away to create this temporary location? So there was a lot of back and forth on that, and figuring out what was the best choice to move forward, and what to keep, what not to keep.
How much? So we have all this stuff that we put into storage in our Wilmington location. Um, how much stuff is there? I was trying to walk around there the other day looking at it, and it just seemed like it was acres of stuff.
Yeah, it was funny because I was there this morning, and the guy says, "Hey, there was a guy here yesterday walking around, glasses on and a hat. He's poking through everything, going, 'What is all this junk?'" and I'm like, "He drives a black Porsche." Oh, it's Mike.
Yeah. So
I,
funny.
I don't know what we do with all that stuff. I have no idea. I look at it as trash. Tommy and John look at it like treasure. So
Yeah.
it's very hard to determine what to do with that type
One
of
man's
stuff.
trash, another man's treasure. Funny side note is most of my life I've been confused for either Henry or John or just like a complete stranger.
Yeah, who
I,
you were.
I,
I get
I
what
was I was gonna I told him I had a meeting with Eli, but I didn't tell him my name. It's funny. I mean, I know we kind of talked a little bit about this, but what's the most surprising thing? So we go into this parking lot, we get the whole thing open. What would you say is something that you didn't expect to work that worked really well, and then what's something you thought would work that didn't?
I didn't expect the transition to use a QR code and change our style of service, which was big for us. Henry, my son, was working on it before we got closed. He really wanted to update our systems to make, certain parts of the process easier on the guest. And
Yeah,
to transition to that and actually see it working, and it worked. And at the same time, it didn't because you had a lot of guests that missed the experience. So we had to recreate part of the experience. And, I think what was surprising and then not surprising is just how resilient our staff was and how willing they were to go through the process with us and trust us and not run away to go find another job, to stick with us, to work in a parking lot, to work in the environment they have been pretty much forced to work in the last 2 years. And granted, we do our best to make that the best environment for them. For them to stick around and how many of them are still here, it's pretty awesome. I mean, there's people that are working for us in our kitchen that worked there when I was a kid,
yeah,
and they're still with us to this day, working in this environment and smiling. That's the best part. They're still happy. They're still happy. They love working for the company. They're excited for the future. They hold the vision with us. They're really excited to see where this takes all of us, not just us, them too. It's pretty awesome to see all their passion for it.
yeah. What do you think? I was thinking about this too. It's like you know, we had the name Fish Market forever in our business, but we couldn't figure out how to take a fish market. So from the time we left the building and cleaned everything out to the time the parking lot landing situation was open, how many days was that?
60, I think it
I
was,
think it
right?
was 60 days, yeah. So in 60 days, there's not enough time to figure a lot of stuff out. Like putting a fish market in a parking lot where you got blood and scales and guts and all that stuff is like hard. Do you think the customers, um, how do you think they reacted to visiting us and finding we're in a parking lot? Because that was only supposed to be 6 months, but now it's been 2 years. We're just getting ready to
Yeah,
move out.
I spend a lot of time down there listening to guests and listening to Daniel, who's our guest coordinator when they come in the door, and most friendly guy in the world. He just loves guests and loves talking to them, and it's a hit and miss. You hear some people that understand it
Mm.
and are willing to wait. You hear others that, hey, this just isn't what I expected, but I will be back when it's open.
Yeah,
And then you see the people that were just there last week and they're back again because they love it. There's
yeah,
people that are traveling into town that actually work for the airlines that are staying up the street. Every
really.
time they're staying up the street, they're coming down to eat at our parking lot, and they are so amazed by the experience because where they're coming from, nothing like this exists. And to them, it's waterfront, even though it's not waterfront. It is just the coolest experience for them to be able to go through. I mean, I've been to Hawaii where you go in parking lots and you eat on food trucks and you find those places because it's a food truck in a parking lot.
Yeah,
We've created that environment, but with 1,000 seats.
yeah. I don't think anybody. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't know of another business our size that's operated a parking lot with 900 seats for 2 years.
No,
And I
no,
think
not and have lines on busy days, Mike.
yeah,
That not only do we have 900 seats, we still don't have the capacity we need to satisfy everybody coming down.
yeah. What do we figure out is like close to 500,000 visitors, even with the parking lot.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's close to that. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's cool. So we're the people that are. You said they're work for the airlines and they're staying up the street. Like, where are they? Where are they from originally? Do you know?
You know what? They're traveling from all over the country. I've heard people from East Coast and they're flying Spirit Airlines, and this is where their destination is for Spirit. And you can only fly so many hours, so they put them into a hotel. And I think there's three different hotels that are using the hotel up the street from us because they have to give them urban areas to spend the night in. So they chose San Pedro, and they love the fish market. It's really neat to listen to them how excited they are when they come down.
Wow, that's cool. What's I mean, we both have our own memories of growing up around there. Like, how old were you when we opened? I don't know. I know I was like 11 or 12.
I was probably eight, nine.
Well,
Yeah.
what's your earliest memory of having to go to work with dad?
My earliest memory is actually before we opened when we had to go to Shamrock and load the truck on Saturday morning to bring it down there to sell fish on the weekend while we were building the building. Literally what we are doing again right now, 50 years later, whatever it is, 40 something years later.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, and then, sweeping up and,
What?
bugging Papa, I think probably more than anything early in the morning.
Man, he didn't talk to me for like a year because I wouldn't give him a bagel. Uh,
I waited for him to make breakfast, man. I used to love when he made breakfast in the morning.
Papa meaning her grandfather, not her dad.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, my
well, I learned how to make omelets though in that kitchen going in early on Sunday mornings. That's how I learned how
yeah.
to make an omelet. What about what do you think? Like, I know one of the things I noticed is we have a lot of people that come in that say, I used to come here when I was a kid and now I'm bringing my kids. Do any of those people ever share memories with you? Like when you're talking to them about what memory they think about visiting when they're a kid, when they were little?
A lot of it has to do with the comments are the birds in the back deck and feeding the seagulls when they were kids and walking through with their grandparents and family and picking the fish, getting to touch the fish, and a lot of them love the experience of the live products. Getting to go in and somebody would hold up a crab for them and they got to take a picture and they now do that with their children. So those memories that they create that are identical to the memory created for them as a child, they get to recreate with their kids.
Wow, yeah, that's pretty cool. Um, you think like so bring us through the timeline, right? We talked about we had this eviction thing, we had 60 days, we're reopening the parking lot. Customers customers continue to come down. We still have lines. We have our 900 seats, which versus the 3,000 we had before. And now it's been 2 years, right? That was 2 years ago. What's the
Yeah.
next steps as we move into May? Because we're about to move into May of 2025.
Well, so let's go backwards real quick. Let's not forget that not only did we open in a parking lot, but before that we opened in a brewery. So we within less than 30 days, we had a truck already set up in a brewery with our menu in there, and we were serving our food. So our staff was right back to work with less than 30 days from the time we were evicted. And I think 30 days after that, we opened in the parking lot. So after all that, now coming into May, we are at the final stages of what we're calling phase two, which is actually our fourth move from the time we were evicted. This is a lot more substantial though. So this kitchen is
Yeah,
will
tell us
have
about what's it going to look like. Tell us about the size, the scope, the seats. What do we got?
so we're right now we've leased over 35,000 square feet from our landlord. We're doing it. This is another temporary location. Our goal right now is 160 tables, which for us 10 people a table. So we're looking close to 1,600 guests. Um, we've built a full 40-foot container or a bar out of a 40-foot shipping container. So it'll service 24 different tap handles, frozen drinks, mixed drinks. We've purchased an entire kitchen complex, which is a total of 9 different containers that are all put together to create a kitchen that actually is the size of what we had in our old legacy building if we combine all the different kitchens into one.
Wow.
So it'll give us the ability to serve well over 1,600 guests for sure. It brings us back to bringing all the cooking and our menu items that we were missing back into this environment. Because that's one thing that, even though we are operating out of this parking lot, our kitchens are so minimal. We're not able to bring all the items back that people love. Now we'll be able to do that.
How long do you think it'll be? Well, when do you expect that to be open and operating, and customers can expect that experience come back?
So at the pace we're going right now, it's looking like third week of May, which is Memorial weekend. So our goal right now is to get it open right before, well, hopefully a little bit sooner than Memorial Day. If not, we're hovering there to the first week of June. We're somewhere right in there. You know, it's difficult with all the challenges with getting permits and stuff like that. So the way we're permitting this operation is like we are building a brick and mortar restaurant. So no inspector will look at it like it's temporary. They're looking at it like we're building a restaurant. So a lot of challenges there.
But it is temporary. I mean, it's really designed for us to function close to where we were before while we rebuild what will be, return to our legacy location on 55,000 square feet next door to where we're at.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've only signed 3-year lease here. So, and with some options if we want to take it longer than that. But
Yeah,
the goal with that 3 years is it gives us 3 years to build our new building, which we've signed a 49-year lease on a ground lease.
yeah,
Ground lease means we're building it to our spec. We're not taking in a building and having to deal with that building, whatever, that roof over our head. We're going to design it to what we need, purposely built for what we do.
yeah. You think there'll be anything you miss when we move out of this parking lot in the next few weeks?
Not even a tiny bit. And you know what? I'll miss dealing with all the. Actually, no, I won't miss anything. I'm not gonna lie. I'm tired of it. it's
I mean,
it's very tough to deal with all this BS of getting into this temporary location.
and you
Yeah,
can
it's
tell,
not
like,
easy.
I think our staff's done too, because, they've been on an asphalt bottom instead of inside
Yeah.
of a building and working out of containers. And even though that's still going to be the case to some degree, it's that what we're building is not going to be like that. So,
No,
yeah,
not at all. The environment they're in now, I mean, you got to walk outside to go to the reefers. You got to walk outside to go to your dry storage. It's all disconnected. Now we've took all those pieces and put them into one complex where when you're in it, it doesn't feel like you're in containers. It feels like you're walking through a restaurant. It's pretty amazing, the kitchen facility that we've created. It's pretty awesome. Proud of
well,
it.
well, I mean, yeah, I mean, say congrats because that's not easy. It's one of the things people don't probably realize is we've been on this waterfront since 1956. I think it was in 1959 because we moved. Um, I think the Ports of Call restaurant came in like 61, 62, and then the village was built around the late 60s and then expanded, and we got displaced and had to rebuild. And all of the businesses that were down there functioning for all those decades are all gone. The only ones
Yeah.
that survived was us.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big testament to, how we handle, how we work as a family, how we deal with stress, how we don't give up and how we continually innovate. So, I mean, you're leading the forefront on this part of it on the restaurant side because I wouldn't know what to do in any of this stuff. So nice work. Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. I think we're going to wrap it up. Thanks for listening to episode 7 of Fish Factor with my brother Henry, Chief of Business Development for San Pedro.
All right. Also known as the Hammer, let's not forget.
Oh yeah, so you can enjoy him in Kings of Fish as the Hammer,
There you go.
covering all this stuff. Thanks again for listening to episode 7 of Fish Factor. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. You can also check out all the episodes of Kings of Fish right here. You can learn more about our restaurants at sanpedrofish.com, or you can follow our social media handles at San Pedro Fish. And to watch the show and learn more about the show, you can go to our social media handles at Kings of Fish.